Thank you, gentlemen. This is rumor control. Here are the facts.
It's a two-way street, because if they're spending their whole 20s banging women and not staying with them and sleeping their way through until they get, like, I mean,
those guys,
they're creating the system as much as women are by making those poor decisions. And, like, the guy would literally be there shrugging, like, I was the poor decision you made. There are two people that are having sex, and they are both responsible, especially if the manosphere want to treat women like these. And I read the comments on your video, and I know they don't represent you, but men are like, women need to be treated like children. They need to be guided because they don't know how to control their lives or what to do. Well, if you guys really believe that, then guide them. Don't throw up your hands and be like, well, you made these decisions and you ended up here. Well, you're saying that women are children and they need to live in a world that men control them, and that you guys are not willing to take any of the responsibility to do that. Well, don't bitch about it if you're not going to do anything about it.
Tell that bitch to be cool.
You ready for this? Here we go. Here we go. This is what you wanted, right? This is what you wanted. You asked for it, you got it. I should have gone with the entertaining. Are you not entertained? You're going to be entertained today, right? So here we go. People keep asking me what happened to the Lauren Southern thing. I don't know, quite honestly, and I don't even know where this came from. When I was talking to her, I didn't even get to see her because we recorded this on Discord. So there you go. You can ask her where it is. It was on her Twitch channel for a while. I don't know what happened to it. That is a discussion that I had with Lauren. I'm using that as my preface today. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. And the reason I'm using that is because that was a direct engagement, a direct conversation we had because of Iron Rule of Tomassi number 3. You know what that one is. We're going to talk about that today too. It's time to take some people to the woodshed today. And first and foremost, it's going to be our good friend. I think his name is Alex from Playing with Fire. I'm not even sure. This is the guy that wants me to debate him, right? Okay, well, I've been asked to do lots and lots of different debates. Also by the guys from Coach White Pill, whose name escapes me. I have no idea what this guy's name. How about we call you Dipshit? We'll just call you Dipshit today. How's that? First and foremost, whenever people want to debate anything that I have to talk about, usually it's based, as I said before, it's based on belief versus empiricism. And usually it is a disingenuous challenge to a debate. Let me explain to you exactly what debate is, okay? I don't know that anybody who watches this has any formal debate team trained. Did you do debate team when you were in college or maybe high school? So if you know anything about debate, you also know what the logical fallacies are. I think there's like the 10 commandments of logical fallacies, right? There's a straw man, and there's presuming the argument, and ad hominems. That's what everybody loves, right? Because you just basically, shit talk your opponent, and therefore you're right. So everybody understands that one. There's a bunch of them. I don't have those set up right now. I probably could just go look up what is the 10 commandments of debate, right? But it is usually surrounds a particular topic. That's why I laugh when I see the presidential debates, because they never debate anything. We don't know what debate is anymore. We don't debate issues, because pretty much today you have access to information. If you want to know what the actual data is on any issue, I don't care if it's political or if it's scientific or whatever, you could probably go find that data on your own and form an opinion on your own. But that's not how we form our opinions. I've talked about this with Ryan on several different occasions, where I've said this before. It's like whenever I'm asked to produce the sources cited, or where's the science, or show me the study, show me the research. It's very easy to find those things these days. We have Google now. I didn't know if you know that, but we have Google right now. And primarily, we form our belief sets, or our ideologies, our philosophies, not based on empirical data from meta studies over the course of 20 years, independently researched, independently funded, peer reviewed, and published in some major scientific journal. We don't go and to say, you know what, I think I'm going to start believing that now. We don't do that, but we should, but we don't. We're human beings. We form opinions based primarily on lived experience and the way that we've been raised and where we were raised, and the socioeconomic status of how we were raised. Were you raised by a single mother? Your belief set's probably going to be a whole lot different than if you had an intact family. If you had a father and a mother, probably going to be something a little bit different than that. I presume people are intelligent when they watch this show. I presume people are intelligent when they read my book. A lot of people say, well, Rollo, you use a lot of $10 words in the Rational Mail. And I go, yeah, I do, because I don't write down to my audience. I presume you're smart enough to get this. And if you're not, it's a prompt, right? It's a prompt to go and like Google that, figure those things out. Now, in book 4, in religion, I spent a good 3 years researching that, and sources cited. They're right there. There's an appendix, just like a good old scientific book, just like your textbooks. Do you think anybody really cares? No, all that does is shut people up. That's all it does. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But primarily, what happens is whenever I am challenged on anything with respect to either my book or my so-called philosophy, which it's not, and I don't know how many different ways I can tell you guys this, the red pill is a praxeology, not a philosophy, not a set of beliefs, not an ideology, not a religion, not a cult, not beliefs. It's about empirical data. It is, if anything, it is the belief. Here's the belief, the scientific method. That's what it is. If I have a belief, if I have a mission statement, it is an obligation to objective truth. That's what it is. And if somebody tomorrow says, hey, Rollo, you're completely wrong about alpha widows. You're completely wrong about the soulmate. Here we have it. Here we have data, right? That suddenly we've discovered where the soul is in the mind, and there's actually 2 perfect people out there for someone out there in the big wide world. Okay, fine. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the notepad and we're going to erase this, and we're going to put something else in there, because in a praxeology, in a scientific method, we write down our findings in pencil, not in pen. We reserve the right to erase those things and come back to those and revisit those things. So that's number 1. You don't get to do that in a system of belief. You don't get to do that. You get to say, this is right and this is wrong. Rollo's a bad man. He's a good guy. Oh, he saved my life, right? That's a judgment call. That's an opinion. I'm glad when you love me, and if you hate me, fine. I want to hear about it. That's fine too. But that's not a debate. That's not an argument. So when I ask for specifics, and not just from douche nozzle from Playing with Fire, not from these guys from White Pill Coach, whatever the coach is these days. No, that's not what it is. It's usually, I want to get you on here so that I can talk shit about you, so Anthony Johnson can get some people to come to his convention in October, which is when all this usually happens, right around September. This is the 3rd year in the row, by the way. And let me, if you guys are watching, I'm sure you will, because I've used your picture in the thumbnail here. You're being used. You're being tooled right now. Go ask MGTOW Dictionary. He was tooled too. You're probably on the payroll, but I can't say that for sure. I'm not really 100% sure, but I do know that you guys have definite ties to the 21 convention. In fact, all I have to do is go and look at your channels and look at the imagery, and I look at the titles and I look at the subjects, and I go, yeah, he's working for Anthony. He's on the 21 convention right now. Actually, I think Alex is even a confirmed speaker right now. Go ahead. If that's your groove, man, go check it out. There's your plug. I even gave you a plug on the Rational Mail. So when I do get challenged, when people actually come and go, oh, you know what? He's right. We need to actually have a debate. We better have a topic. Okay. So what do people do? The first thing people do is they go, oh, well, he's got these. This sounds like a philosophy. This sounds like a list of things that he's saying that people and men ought to do. So what do? They fixate on the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi. The 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi that I actually developed way back when I was a moderator on the SoSwap forums. And it wasn't like, if one thing that you'll find, you will not find, if you go to the SoSwap forums right now, and you go and you look for a post that I did that collects all of the 9 Iron Rules of Tomassi, go check it out. SoSuave.net/forums, I think it is, whatever the forums is. Go and search my name and go look up 9 Iron Rules. You'll find them individually, but you will never find a list of them. And a matter of fact, I made it very specific back in the day, back in like 2005, 2004, when I was sort of putting these things out there, that I was never, I intentionally didn't string them together because I didn't want people to think that these were in some way a list of things to do. This is not a prescription, but it's the closest thing that people can talk about and think is a description or a prescription. It's not 12 rules for life. It is the 9 Iron Rules of who? Of who? Of who? Tomassi. Not you. Not white pill, not bread pill, not this. These are the 9 Iron Rules that you should follow and you'll live a great life. That's not what they are. They're suggestions, they're prompts, they're things to think about, but it is not, you will never find me put a book together that is 9 rules for life. You will never find me do that. You will never hear me go, oh, here's the plan for your perfect world. I have done show after show after show saying it's on you. You have to create your own life. You have to be the one who takes these tools and takes this material, takes this information and leverage it to your best advantage. I can't tell somebody who lives in Mumbai or Japan or Russia or wherever who is maybe not 50 some odd years old. Maybe he's 16 years old. Maybe he's 26 years old. It would be foolish for me to say one size fits all. Here it is. Here's your magic pill. Follow these steps and everything will work out perfect for you. I won't do that because I have more respect for my audience and more respect for my readers than to try to sell you sweet sunshine, which is exactly what most of these guys are doing, particularly in the quote unquote white pill right now, whatever it is. As I said before, it's just the purple pill. Matthew Hussey, Evan Mark Katz, Mark Manson, name everybody from RSD more or less. Name the guy, and they've got some Gumroad course that you can go pick up for $47.97 or whatever it is. And what you will do is you'll download it, you'll read the first couple of chapters, and you go, and move on to the next thing. That's what they want you to do. That's the plan, right? Of the guys who have picked up, say, like the 12 Rules for Life from Jordan Peterson, how many of those guys are like going, you know what? I'm going to go back and try to understand rule number 4 or 6. Yeah, it really improved my life. Did those 12 rules for life prevent him from, what happened to him? Now, I'm not wishing anything bad on him or anything like that, or his wife or his daughter or anything. I understand his circumstances. But go look at the material. In fact, I'll just back up off of that because go look at the material that Vox Day has done about Jordan Peterson. He says he can do it he can outline that way more than I can. But again, I'm not selling you a plan. I have never said I am selling you a plan, but that's what people fixate on. They want 9 Iron Rules. They want to say, okay, what are the 9 Iron Rules? We got him. We can get him on this. Okay. Let's talk about that. That's exactly what Lauren Southern was trying to nail me on, which was the 3rd Iron Rule of Tomassi, which I'm going to get to here. In fact, let's enumerate a few of these things because the first thing anybody wants to talk about is, well, I agree with a few of the things he says, but these are where he's wrong. And damn near every single time they want to have some sort of critique, it's usually a straw man. It's usually here's what I got out of that. You can tell. I can tell. I've been writing about this stuff for almost 20 years now. It'll be 20 years next year. I know what I wrote, man. I know what's in the book. And I can tell when you didn't read it. I can tell. And it's not just them. I mean, I need the guys I'm going to talk about today. It's not just them. It's everybody. I know when you didn't understand it. The number one, if we're going to get to actually, let's just go systematically here. I'm going to, if you are wanting to get the 9 Iron Rules, you can go to, you don't even have to buy the book, man. It's not like, I'm not even trying to shill my book. Hey, yeah, please buy the book, right? Go pick it up, and don't get a pirated copy that's been promoted out there. Don't do that. But if you want a good, I would say probably about 80-85% of the material that's in my first book is freely available on my blog, man. Always has been since 2000, for 10 years. It's been freely available. So what are you going to do? Okay, let's go look for the 9 Iron Rules. Okay, great. Each one of those 9 Iron Rules, by the way, I have collected them on my best of year 1. So you can go and look them up. They are also collected in the book here too. But if you look how the posts were spread out when I was blogging back in 2011, they're not all listed one after the other. And there's a reason for that, because I'm not selling you my program for your success. I've said that. I don't know how much more clear I can make that. So anyways, if you go to the Rational Male and you go at the very top there, you'll see that there's it says the best of the Rational Male. Go to year 1, and down at the bottom there, or right around the middle of there, scroll down a bit, and then you'll see Iron Rules of Tomassi. Okay? The first one is frame, and usually nobody has a problem with that one. Frame is something that a lot of guys, sometimes they might be a little quirky about it. Now, have I done 9 Iron Rules on this channel? Yes, I have. I believe I did it way back in the day with Pat Campbell. So I'll link that at the end of this video, so you can go look at that if you want. And I go into more detail about all of them. And again, it's hard to enumerate and describe everything and my reasoning behind writing all of this. So you have to actually go read it. You have to be intellectually, don't be a lethargic. Okay. Go and read this stuff. Actually read it. Because what most people do is they go, oh, he said, what's number 1? Frame. Frame is everything. And that's why I started with that as number 1, because frame is not my term, by the way. It's a psychological term. It's a sociological term too. Frame is something that psychologists have noticed since, back in Freud's day, I think. I forget who came up with the actual concept of frame. But frame was something that the early pickup artists and now sort of the latter day gamers also recognize, and not just them, but like guys who are, selling you the masculinity training, and guys who want to tell you how to be a better patriarch, or guys who want to tell you how to be a better dad. Frame is everything. Frame means something, that's for damn sure. Women want you to have a world into which that they can enter. That's number 1. And most people don't have a problem with that. In fact, they embrace it that much more, because, Rollo Tomassi said frame is everything. They'll chew on that because it's sort of an endorsement for whatever their program happens to be after that. That's number 1. Now, number 2 is going to be, number 2, I think I'm going to let Alex explain what number 2 is, or what he thinks is number 2. So let's go in here. Let's
do some specifics that Rollo is wrong about. So let's start off with his book, The Rational Male. There's 3 rules that I definitely disagree with. Iron Rule number 2, never reveal your number of sexual partners or explain detail of past lovers. I would really love to see Rollo cite a study that this is based on. Like, we asked 1,000 men and we saw that the ones who shared their lay count had a higher divorce rate. Like, no, he's just purely pulled this one out of his ass. And again, this is opinion, which is he's wrong about, because I've told God knows how many girls about my past sexual history, and my clients have, and it's never been an issue. Again, you don't want to be on the first date bragging that you fucked a lot of girls or coming off as too timid, but once you already hook up with a girl, especially if it's a girl you're dating, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's probably better to be transparent and straight up, because that builds trust, and you want to have honesty in a relationship. So yeah.
Okay, so he's presuming a lot here. So let's go. Well, okay, let's go and read the actual rule. Okay, awesome. Here. Iron Rule of Tomassi number 2. Let's move over here. So this was from a post that I wrote called How Many You've Been With How Many Girls? Okay, this was Iron Rule of Tomassi. Okay. I wrote this. Remember, these were from back in the day. A lot of this stuff was primarily from around 2003, 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. Okay, so that's where this was developed from. Iron Rule of Tomassi: never under pain of death, honestly or dishonestly reveal the number of women you've slept with, or explain any detail of your sexual experiences with them to a current lover. That's what the rule. That's the primary rule there. I enumerate a little bit more here. I actually put in some conversations here. But primarily what was going on at the time of this writing was that far too many guys thought that that was a form of game. And they still do kind of today. Maybe not. They do it in a different way. That understanding the mentality is still the same. So when a guy sends a dick pic to a girl, that's kind of on the same side. They want to like escalate sexually, but it comes off as creepy. And then on top of that, now there's a dick pic out there and that girl can use that as blackmail on you. Okay. It's similar to that. However, at the time of writing this rule, guys were going and saying, well, what do I do, Rollo, when a girl asks me how many chicks I have ever slept with? Okay. It's one thing to answer that honestly. And again, I will strongly disagree about this whole thing about, oh, you got to be honest in a relationship. Yeah. Okay, fine. But women do not want 100% open disclosure. They don't want full disclosure. They want to play the game. That's why you don't reveal your number. Keep her guessing. Let her imagination do the lifting for you. That's why you don't do that. It's an honestly, according to the old school PUAs, that was a shit test. And that was a shit test you could leverage. So you would say, well, how many girls have you really been with? Right. And so you go, well, you mean tonight? It was an opportunity for cocky and funny, but also it seems as if you're leading with your notch count. Remember what we say, don't lead with your wallet. Don't lead with your notch count. And that's what guys were doing back in the day. That's what that's for. That's why you don't do that. Well, hey, man, I've had 300 chicks. That means I'm a stud, so you should bang me. Next, scientifically speaking, here we go. You want your data? Here's your data, okay? Men tend to overestimate overestimate the interest of women, and then they also tend to exaggerate their lay counts. Lots and lots of research on that. Men tend to overestimate and over-exaggerate their sexual prowess. Look it up, asshat. Look up David Buss. Look up the studies of David Buss. Look at the studies of Marty Hazelton or Gangstad or I want to say, Rolf. I'm not really sure. David Buss's department has talked about this all the time. Go get this book. It's a great book. It's called Men Behaving Badly. It just came out this year. It's by David Buss. All in there. I'm not going to go do that work for you. If you want to come at me, you go and pick that shit up. I'm not going to go and put scientific links for you so I can do the heavy lifting for you because you're disingenuous. So there is that aspect of, there is actually a scientific aspect of it. Guys believe, I think, particularly more beta male guys, but they tend to exaggerate, or they tend to think that if they express or overestimate or overblow their sexual prowess, that in some way is a form of game. That's what that rule was about. Next.
This one is just pure nonsense. Rule number 4, never live with a woman you aren't married to or intend to marry in 6 months. So the logic is that, if you live with a woman, you can still fall under common law marriage, which you become legally married, for all legal purposes because you're living together. Except what he forgets is that common law marriage is really only a thing in 8 states.
Nothing to do with common law marriage.
And usually it doesn't kick in until 3 years, 5 years, right? So in most states, common law marriage isn't a thing. I would make the argument that it is much better to try out living with a woman before you actually commit to marriage, because you.
Okay, that's exactly why I wrote the rule out, and I'll explain here in just one minute.
I want to see how you guys live together. You don't really get to know someone until you're living together for an extended period of time. Me personally, I don't know if I'm ever going to get married, but if I do, I would never consider it unless I live with a woman for at least a few years. I want to see how we do when we're in close proximity with each other, whether she changes, whether anything changes, and then I might consider marriage, but not the other way around. It's just silly.
Okay, sounds like logic, right? Well, let's go look at the rule. What do you say? Number 4, was that it? Let's see. I believe that was, yeah. Notice how he skirts number 3. We're going to come back to number 3 because that's what Lauren Lauren Southern was talking about. This is number 4, what he was just calling. Okay, so this is from a post called Shacking Up, written October 6th, 2011, almost 10 years ago. Okay, so here it is. I was going to put it on screen, but I think I'll hold off here. Iron Rule of Tomassi, number 4. Never under any circumstance live with a woman you aren't married to or are not planning to marry within 6 months. Okay, now what he fixates on here is the marriage part. I'm not advocating marriage. And if you read the rest of the fucking post, you would understand this, but you don't, because you're deliberately misdirecting and trying to reframe this as something that it is not. Disingenuous. You are utterly powerless in this situation. Never buy a home with a girlfriend. Never sign a rental lease with a girlfriend. Never agree to move into her home, and absolutely never move a woman into your own established living arrangement. That's the rest of this. I'm adamantly opposed to the shacking up dynamic. It's a trap that far too many men allow themselves to fall into. My fervor against this isn't based on some moral issue. It is simple pragmatism. If you live with a woman, you may as well be married, because upon doing so, every liability and accountability of marriage is then in effect. You not only lose any freedom of anonymity, you commit to legally being responsible for the continuation of your living arrangements, regardless of how your relationship decays. I should also emphasize the point that when you commit, and it is a financial commitment, to cohabiting with a girlfriend, you will notice a marked decrease in her sexual availability and desire. The single most common complaint related to me in regards to how to reignite a woman's desire comes as the result of a guy having moved into a living arrangement with his LTR, his long-term relationship. All of that competitive anxiety and its resulting sexual tension that made your sex life so great is removed from her shoulders, and she can comfortably relax in the knowledge that she is your only source of sexual intimacy. Putting your name on that lease with her, even if it's just your name, is akin to signing a policy for her. I, the undersigned, promise not to fuck any woman but this girl for a 1-year term. That's where that is. And that's what that was all about. Not about marriage, not about common law marriage. And you know what? Had you read that, you would understand that. But you're not going to talk about that. Oh, I disagree about this. Now do you understand why I don't do debates? Now do you understand why I see do you have any kind of, if you're disingenuous about your intentions? I know who you work for, man. I know your whole grift. I know your whole shill. I know all of it. So let's continue.
Rule number 5, never allow a woman to be in control of birth control. It's basically saying that, woman might deceive you. So, she's going to pretend like she's on the pill, but she's actually.
I'm sorry. That's not what that says. Can you please read that again to me?
So you're going to get pregnant with your child, right? And there's some examples of, NBA players, hooking up with ratchet chicks, and then they pull that shit on them. Okay. What kind of girls are you hooking up with? Because no woman who actually has shit going for her in her life, who has good self-esteem, who's not ghetto as fuck, is going to do that. Doesn't even enter her mind. She's not thinking, okay, how can I pull one over on this guy and get myself pregnant with his child? Yeah, there are some gold diggers and really ratchet girls who will pull that shit, but you shouldn't be with those girls in the first place. Like, how little trust.
I see. So now we're going to jump into the equality woman missive here. But that's not what this is about. This is not about having control. What he's referring to is, you shouldn't worry about that if you're in a good, loving, trusting relationship. Okay, is that the goal? Because I see a lot of booze in the back there, and it seems to me like you're more about game and pickup than anything else. So it sounds kind of strange coming from you, Alex. Sounds a little strange, but yeah. Well, whatever you can come up with. That is on your phone that you're reading from that script, whatever that is, let's keep going.
Do you have in your relationship that you literally can't trust your girl to take the pill? If you have that little trust for the girl that you're seeing, then you shouldn't be seeing her in the first place. So this one also, he's wrong about. Plus what? Like, you're never going to have, sex without condom. Like, you're always going to use condoms, or just because you can't trust your girl to take the pill. And yeah, it's like just super paranoid and super silly. All All right, so those are the big ones with it.
All right. So let's go back and read Iron Rule number 5, which he misquotes deliberately. Iron Rule of Tomassi number 5, never allow a woman to be in control of the birth. Okay. Why is that? How many guys in the MGTOW community, well, they'll be happy to tell you about that. They'll be happy to talk about this. How many guys in the MGTOW community say that? And you've probably heard them say this. I've said it myself. Once a sperm leaves your body, you are 100% powerless, right? Even I don't have it queued up, but I have discussed the cases. I believe, I want to say it was in Arizona. It was this couple who were trying to they're doing in vitro fertilization, I think. And during the process of that in vitro fertilization, they froze the sperm, froze the egg, and they broke up. They divorced. Well, the woman still wants to have a child. She still wants to have a baby. Well, guess what? Female judge says, yeah, you can use your ex-husband's sperm to fertilize your eggs, have those kids, and guess what? He's paying for he's paying for 18 years for the kid. I will put that gladly. I will gladly put that link in the description so you guys can read that. That's just one instance, man. So that's number 1. So does it not seem, I realize that it sounds like, well, that's psychotic. Why would you do something like that? Well, because that's the degree of control that you have to have. There's only one line of defense between you and an unwanted pregnancy. This is, I wrote later on in this, I'm not going to read the whole damn thing, but let me just read parts of it. It says, I always have protection. Okay, Iron Rule of Tomassi number 5. Always have protection. I've had far too many guys hit me with the argument that they implicitly trust their girlfriends to be on the pill or whatever, and that she doesn't want kids, only to be an unprepared daddy 9 months later. After the accident, the only accident they had was not being in control of the birth themselves. In fact, I'd argue that men need to use extra caution when in an LTR, since the ease of getting too relaxed with her is present. That's what this says. Accidental pregnancy is practically a cottage industry now. Go look on these. I wish I had the forums for you, but there are forums right now that are specifically set up for their women's forums so that women can find a way to trick guys into thinking that either they're the daddy or that they should commit. Well, we've been together for 6 or 8 months and he's got no sign of commitment. I need a fake pregnancy test so I can get him to commit. I need to give him a scare. There are black markets for positive pregnancy tests right now. Nothing illegal whatsoever about that. Oh, I got one here. I got pregnant. You can have mine. Trick him. That's what I'm talking about. That's why this is a thing. That's why this was a rule. And again, this is a rule. You don't have to follow it. I'm not saying these are the 5 rules for life. You can, I can't actually go and say, I can't be with you in the bedroom and say, you better wrap the rascal. I can't do that, but I can at least say, hey, here's something to think about. This is not an ideology. This is not a cult. These are not the things you have to memorize and read back to me later. These are suggestions. These are things to give you something to think about. Accidental pregnancy is practically a cottage industry now for a woman without an education or even without means. An unplanned pregnancy may be a pretty good prospect, especially when every law and social expectation weighs in her favor. Am I wrong here? Am I wrong in saying that you should be a little bit cautious, that you should have at least some concern for being in control of that birth? Because ever since 1965, ever since the sexual revolution, ever since the advent of hormonal birth control, women have had unilateral control over the human reproductive process. How many shows have I said exactly those words? Doesn't matter, because this is all I cared to think about, right? Okay, here we go. You asked for it, you got it. These are professional mommies. Okay. When I counseled in Reno, I knew a guy who married his woman who had 3 children from 2 fathers who he himself had impregnated with the 4th. She was what I call a professional mother. Is it wrong to be cautious about those things? That was, when did I write that? Gosh. That was, again, December 6th, 2011. 10 years ago. Maybe we should be less cautious now, guys. Maybe we should just, hey, you know what? It's fine. We should trust her. It's fine. Go ahead. Don't worry about it. It's not like anything's going to happen. You don't trust her implicitly, then she must not be a quality woman. How great is that? It's so unfalsifiable. I love that. That's another thing people hate on me for. Oh, Rollo doesn't believe in the quality woman. No, I believe this. Trust women to be women. That's it. Understand their nature and trust women to be women. Not saying that you shouldn't be in a great relationship. I'm not saying you can't be in love or any of that other good stuff. I've been married for 25 years right now. In fact, this ass hat will probably say, well, that disqualifies you from anything. Great. Well, you're the one talking about how we all need to just be trusting and have quality women in our lives. The other thing about this is he was explaining something Tom Likas actually talked about, which was back in, I think it was in the beginning of like the early 2000s, the NBA famously issued this, I guess it was a public, a PR release or something like that to NBA players saying, like, if you're on the road, make sure you wear a condom and you flush the condom. Because what was happening is there was such a high incidence of, women on the road, on those road games who wanted to bang an NBA player. And you know what they were trying to do is they were trying to lock down an NBA player with a baby. Wow. Where has that happened recently? Oh yeah. Brittany Renner. Maybe we should have said something to PJ Washington about that, but no, it's okay. Trust her. You're married to her, man. Why worry about it? PJ, just go with what Alex is telling you to do. Yeah, just go. In fact, PJ Renner's in the perfect position according to this asshole. Right? I mean, we should have trusted. Well, she's ratchet. Well, yeah, he should have known that and he should have seen that. Sure. Now that we can backwards rationalize that, now it's unfalsifiable. Sure. Now that you're screwed, now there's a kid involved in all of this. And that's another thing is there's a child that's involved in all of this as well. Or maybe multiple children, or maybe children that aren't even yours, that because you married that girl and you actually had another kid with her, now you're on the hook for not only your own kid, not only alimony, but the kid from like two or three, other kids from two fathers. And you're on the hook. And you're footing the bill for all of that. Mr. Superhero, you're the dad that stepped up, man. How awesome is that? So do you not think that Iron Rule of Tomassi number 5 at least is somewhat of a cautionary wisdom? Is it? Because maybe I'm off base here. All right, let's continue.
This book, there's other ones that I sort of disagree with. Like, for example, frame is everything. I think he just kind of overblows that one. But these are the 3 big ones to take issue with. Now let's go outside this book to other things that he says. So one concept that Rollo talks about a lot is the wall. He says that women, once they hit, right around the age of 30, basically their sexual appeal significantly goes down.
No, that is not what I say. Stop putting words in my mouth, retard. Okay, that's not what I said. And anybody I've got a foot. I'll put a little tag here in just a minute for the wall. I've done a full episode on that. Had you watched that, you would know what a moron you are. Okay. So here's, what do I say about that? Well, right between the ages of 29 and 31, that's the epiphany phase. Had you actually read the book, you would know that. It's in the book. In fact, that's also in book 3 as well. I've talked about the epiphany phase there. Book 2. Book 1 and 2 are all about that. In fact, I even put the essay called The Wall that I based that episode on. That's also, I believe, in book 2 as well. It's in preventive medicine. So, it's not, and I said this, I don't know how many times. I don't know how many ways to say this, because clearly you don't know my work. You don't know my book. You don't know anything about me, but you're happy to put words in my mouth. So here's the deal. Whenever I've talked about the wall, I said the wall is not a physical thing. The wall is a mental thing. That's why I peg it right about 33 years old. Some women actually hit the wall a lot earlier than that. Some hit it later. A rare few hit it later. Now let's look at, you want statistics? You want science? Here we go. What is it? 73% of the population in the United States alone, I presume you live in the US and not Brazil or something like that, but 73% 3% of the population of the United States is overweight. And a full 40% of the women in the United States are termed morbidly obese. Now, you can argue about BMI and all this other. Okay, that's fine. Put it in the comments. You can have that conversation too. But the fact remains is that most women actually hit the wall. If you want to call it if you want to define it physically, they're probably hit it well before 30. A good proportion of them, a good percentage of them do. But that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the epiphany phase. The epiphany phase is when women come to the realization that they have to cash out of the sexual marketplace because they ain't getting any younger. Now, I'm going to show you some science that backs that up here in just a minute too, because we're going to talk about standards in just a moment, because that was a hot topic for you as well. So the wall is not a physical thing. I have said that and said that and said that on Rule 0. I've said that on my blog. I've said that in 2 books. I've said that in at least 2 episodes of this show that I can remember. Do your goddamn homework. You're going to come at me, come correct. So when I talk about the wall is not a physical thing. Can be, but it's not exclusively a physical thing. It's a mental thing. When women get to about 32, right after the post-epiphany phase, right around there, that's when they realize, or they, at least on some level, maybe not as many as I'd like to believe, but most women come to the conclusion that they finally begin to acknowledge that they can't compete at the same level in the sexual marketplace that they could when they were 23. There's a 10-year difference between their peak sexual market value and where they are at 33 years old. And they start to realize, and you know this, that women, go look on Fresh and Fit, go look on Kevin Samuels, go look on, Red Pill Weekend, or I don't know what the hell it is, whatever the show is that holds, quote unquote, holds women accountable, that good template, that good YouTube blood sport template. Look at all the women that are 34 years old. They are very upset. You know why? Because they realize that they can't compete with their 24-year-old self. That's not going to happen. And their expectations and their standards and their pickings for the men that they think should be the ones that they get, like they only want the best, right? That those guys should be, there should be offers of marriage left and right, and it doesn't happen. It's not happening for them, and they begin to acknowledge that they can't compete in the sexual marketplace like they used to when they were in their mid-20s. That's the wall. Not this bullshit, not about nothing physical. Although, I mean, like I said, it can be partially physical, but it's mostly mental. You can have a very good looking girl. You can have a fitness pageant America winner model at 35 years old. She's still hitting the wall, not here, but certainly up here. I ain't getting any younger. My eggs are drying up, right? Not that that's what she's actually cognitively thinking, but on a limbic, like sort of hindbrain level, there's an acknowledgement right there that that's when you hear women say, my biological clock is ticking. Yeah, actually your biological clock was ticking back when you were 23, but now 10 years later, you're beginning to acknowledge it because you realize that your options in men is starting to dry up. That is the wall. Because the guys that they want to get with, those high value men that Kevin Samuels always talks about, they're not as forthcoming as they were when you were 23 years old. And now they're beginning to realize that is the wall, my friend.
What world is he living in? I mean, in the 1800s, maybe, but now, at least in major cities, chicks who are in their 30s are hot as fuck if they take good care of themselves. I live in Miami. There's some hot ass 40-year-olds that are better looking than 20-year-olds. So humans naturally decline with
no
age, right? As we get older, we generally look worse unless we take good care of ourselves, in which case we don't have to decline. We can even potentially improve. So you see an example of a girl who maybe gets married young and she's just average, and then her husband cheats on her, they get divorced in her mid-30s or even early 40s, and then she starts going to the gym, she gets a titty job, and now she looks a lot better. Also, Rollo uses...
Okay. Even with that, she gets into the gym, she looks a lot better. Maybe if she's 40, maybe if that magical outlier, that 1% woman who actually does that, who goes from fat to fit, suddenly she's competing in the masters category at Fitness America, right? 40 years old, and she actually turns into a hottie miraculously. She still cannot compete with her sisters who are 23 years old, still in the sexual marketplace. You know why you don't understand that? Because you think that it's all about the physical. It's not. It's about the mental. It's about understanding. It's about the, you want to know why is it that cougars, like quote unquote cougars, go for the young guys and for a while, and then they start looking for a guy who is sort of economically attractive. They're looking for a guy who's older than them in the long term, assuming they want anything that's long term. Because because guys of that age realize that women who are older tend to be easier. Hell, I'm guilty, man. When I was in my 20s, man, there was at least a couple of women who were much, much older than me. I'm not gonna throw numbers out there. Much older than me. They're easy, man. It was easy pickings, man. That's why guys have preferences, man. Oh, I like a girl with a little more meat. No, that's because you were sexually successful with that girl prior to, getting with somebody who was like hotter. Oh, I like girls who are fat. Oh, well, if that's your preference, it's certainly a lot easier to get with that than it is somebody who you get with a 9 or a 10. But that's neither here nor there, because when that woman gets to be 40 years old, she's still 40 years old up here, not 40 years old here. I mean, she could be as hot as you think she magically can be. Again, those women are rare, few and far between. Statistics disagree with your assessment there, Alex. Statistics show 73% of the U.S. population is overweight, and a full 40, actually more women are morbidly obese than there are men. Can it happen? Yeah. There are rare exceptions where it can, but again, it's up here, not here.
The concept that men age like fine wine, right? That men.
I'm sorry. I got it. If you're going to air quote me, then I expect a fucking a source is cited. I have never, ever said those words. Those words have never come out of my mouth. You will never hear me say men age like fine wine. Quote, please. Cite your sources, please. If you're going to ask me to cite sources and give you all this scientific information, which I'm about to do here in just a minute, then I expect the same from you. I've never said that, but I know what he's going to talk about here.
Basically get better as they get older and women get worse.
Okay. Here we go. What he's referring to is this. And let me take him out of there for a second. Again, my infamous sexual market value graph that was from 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. Again, this was my speculative chart, which actually has been borne out again and again and again by all kinds of different data. This was just me sort of like getting a feel for things. Again, if you read the post that this is from, I can even give it to you. The post that this is from, by the way, is called Final Exam, Navigating the Sexual Marketplace. What I was doing here when I did this was I was giving sort of this mock address for college graduates, because I think I did this in May of like 2012 or 2013. And I put this out there, and it was just sort of tongue in cheek at the time. And I go, this is actually not a bad graph. And later on, more and more people who took me to task and said, where's the data? What's this based on? Over the course of about 8 or 9 years, then more and more of this data flows in. I've got all kinds of confirming evidence for this right now as far as the sources cited. But this is really what he's talking about, okay? Right here at the top there, on the peak, at the very top of the blue bell curve right there, that's right around 35, 36, 37 years old. That's where I usually peg men's peak sexual market value. Why do I do that? Because, Alex, men are attractive for different reasons than women are. Sexual market value is evaluated differently by women than it is by men. I can prove that to you as well. Go look at a book called Dataclysm. You can look and see how men find women attractive and at what ages. Lo and behold, those ages occur right around 23 years old. Imagine that. The peak value right at the middle of women's the peak of women's bell curve. And it drops precipitously after 30. Maybe that's when women want to cash out of the sexual marketplace. Does that not sound at all like logic? Does that not sound like, it sounds pretty convenient? I'll tell you that. But this is what he's talking about. And you guys already know this. I've used that graph so often, it is a permanent fixture in my overlays in StreamYard now. So That's what I'm talking about. Now, the reason for this is this. I've never said men age like fine wine. No, but we do have a longer burn sexual market value because the things that make a man attractive and arousing in the long term are far more longer lasting. They're far more durable than women's perishable sexual market value, because men find women valuable via availability, fertility. Is she hot? And is she ready to, and is she ready to go? Younger, hotter, tighter. I don't care if you're 15 and I don't care if you're 95. Guys find that at that demographic, 23, 22, 24. That's when men find women the most attractive. Go look up dataclysm. All the data is there. Come correct. If you're going to come at me, I expect you to come correct. I expect you to have some kind of data sets, because when I talk about this, I say this, and he's making making the same mistake. And I don't know that he's like literally making the same mistake, but the mistake is that women and men are all looking for the same thing. Like, we have co-equal mutual interests in relationships and breeding and mating and forming families. Like, and even if we did, we have 100% similar ways of arriving at that same goal that we believe is a mutual goal. We don't. We have adversarial sexual market or sexual or mating strategies. Go look up David Buss. Go look up Godsod. Go look up Steve Stewart Williams. Go look up any of these guys who are, studying the field. These are guys that I read quite a bit. So when you throw stuff at me and say, well, the guys could be fat and slobs and yeah, they can. And they often are, but you have the potential to be way more valuable. And here's your good news. You guys want me to build you up? You want some optimism? Here it is, guys. You as a man, you're in a freaking great place, because your potential will be more than what the average woman will. The average man's potential for sexual market value, for personal value, to be a high value man, that potential, it is not only higher, but it lasts longer than women's, because women's primary agency is their sexuality. We see that all the time. Go look at dataclysm. The numbers are there. That's not because you're a bad person, woman, females. If you're watching this, women, I hate to be called female. Okay. Women, if you're watching this and you hate, hate the reality of it. That's the thing. Why do women take their clothes off at every time they want to protest something? Why are they stripping naked at a BLM or an Antifa riot and parading in front of police officers? Because they know that if you want to get a man to pay attention, take your clothes off and he'll pay attention. That's why. It's overt. It's really women's most basic form of overt communication. Strip naked. Look at all the protests. Look at all of the demonstrations. Look at go look on Twitter. Find any chick that is like stripping nude. There's probably she wants you to pay attention, whether it's on OnlyFans or whatever. But even in any context, women know that their only agency is their sexuality. Men, you have the potential to have so much more. That's what I'm talking about. No, we age like fine wine. We're all the same. Fuck you. I've never said that. You will never hear that come out of my mouth. You know why? Because I don't give you prescriptions. That's why. It's up to you. It would be foolish for me to say, oh, yeah, don't worry, man. By the time you get to be 36 years old, you'll be hitting your stride and every chick will want to just drop her drawers for you. No, you have to make something of yourself. Men must become. How many times have I said that? So to presume that that's what I'm saying is just dishonest, completely dishonest.
Vast majority of men actually go downhill. Like, most men look their best when they're in college, and then after that, they get fat, they get lazy and sloppy. Men only increase their sexual market value, or at least maintain it, if they take very good care of themselves, which the vast majority of men do not do. Right?
Okay, yeah, you're right. 100% agree with that, but that's not what I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with that. Well, partially. You do have to stay in shape, right? You do have to be good looking. You do have to maintain your physique. But let's just be honest here. Again, 73% of the US population is overweight. Something like, I think it's 36% of men are obese. Yeah, you're right about that. But guess what? As a guy, women are not just, especially for long-term relationships, are not just looking for a guy who is the hot guy in the foam cannon party, especially when he gets to be 36, 37 years old and he's hitting his stride. He's making his money. He's made partner in the law firm. He's made the most of himself. Again, maximizing potential. Men will have that value at that time, not because they just magically aged into it. No, yeah, they get fat, they get sloppy. Most guys, honestly, most guys by that age, they're already married. They cash out because they never realize that by the time they get to 36 years old, that they're going to be in a much better, or have the potential to be in a much better position of sexual selectivity. But we don't want to talk about that because it's much easier to reframe and straw man everything that I talk about.
Right. So again, most men will go downhill, most women will go downhill, but the people who take care of themselves shouldn't really go downhill. And also, you have situations where a girl, for example, might gain a big following, like when she's in her 30s, right? She might have, whatever reason, then she has a lot of social clout, right? Which at least increases.
I thought we weren't supposed to be following ratchet chicks who get a greater following at 30. Maybe that's just me, though.
Increase her social value. So, small element of truth here, but heavily, heavily overblown.
Not heavily overblown, heavily misinterpreted. In fact, heavily, deliberately misinterpreted.
Let's take the next one. Only women are allowed to have standards. He's saying that, men get shamed for having standards, women do not. No, there's a very small element of truth here, but it's, again, heavily overblown. Okay. Women can get shamed, too, for having very superficial standards. If a woman's like, yeah, I want a guy with a big dick who's 6 feet tall.
Okay, but that's not what I said. That's not what I said. In fact, listen to that. Hey, here's the pivot. Like, what are you even talking about, dude?
So you have situations where a girl, for example, might gain a big following.
Let's go.
So, small element of truth here, but heavily overblown. Okay. Let's take the next one. Only women are allowed to have standards. He's saying that, men get shamed for having standards, women do not. No, there's a very small element of truth here, but it's, again, heavily overblown. Women can get shamed, too, for having very superficial standards. If a woman's like, yeah, I want a guy with a big dick who's 6 feet tall and has a, big bank account, she'll get shamed by her peers quite often.
Very, very rarely. Do you even watch like Fresh and Fit? Do you even watch Kevin Samuels? Do you even watch what's going on in the manosphere right now? Every chick that's on there is like, yeah, get the bag. Yeah, go do that. And of course, now you're going to make it unfalsifiable by saying, well, they're just ratchet, low quality chicks. Okay, fine. But the fact remains is that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how men are not allowed to have standards, not women's standards. I'm talking about men's standards. I'm about to show you what I'm talking about here in just a second.
Because she's being superficial. Just like when a man says, oh, I want a chick with big tits or who's in really good shape, he might get shamed on. It's not the fact that he's a man. It's the fact that he's talking about superficial things. Now, of course, as a man, you should not give a shit.
Why is that superficial? Why is it superficial to want a chick with big tits? Why is it superficial to want a woman that's hot? First of all, men don't have standards. That usually they'll take whatever comes their way. That's actually what I was talking about. He's trying to get to the point. He's ham-fistedly trying to figure out what I talk about when I get into men don't have attraction floors. That's really what this kind of boils down to. But I did I've got a post for that. It's called. In fact, I'm going to show you that post. As a matter of fact, let's throw that one up here real quick. Where is it? Screen and tab and. The truth about standards. Wow. Lo and behold, when did I write this? I wrote this on October 17th on 2019. Okay. I will put this in the description so you can get it. I'm tempted to read some of this. Okay. But let's see. I love this. But anyways, men's innate unconditioned biological imperative is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, left to his own volition and unimpaired by women's hypergamous filtering strategies. Men's innate drive is to opt for variety of sexual experience. Okay. That predisposes men to not having standards, particularly if they are the 80% of guys who are already in a state of sexual deficit. How many times have I quoted the data for the stats for male virginity from 2008 to 2018. Guys ain't getting laid, but when they do, they're happy as a pig in shit when they finally do get laid. Are they willing to? Nobody's. Have you heard this term before, Alex? Nobody's ugly after 2 a.m. Do you think it's do you think it's women that came up with that, or do you think it was guys that came up with that little snappy little witticism? No, it was guys. Okay. Let me. Where did I put that? Put the whole thing up. There we go. Now here's the part that I wanted to show you. Okay, so throughout this whole thing, I'm not going to go and dig the whole thing up, but let's see. Strategic pluralism, which I've talked about in the past. The 20% of men are banging 80% of women, which is a misnomer. Granted, it used to be it used to have the good intention of getting men to believe that there's a small percentage of guys are having sex, the majority of women, and well, that might as well be right for them, right? Okay, so that's not what I want to talk about. The scarcity mentality was part of this as well, but here it is. Okay, this is the most infamous tweet I think that Richard Cooper has ever put up. Now, occasionally he'll return to this, or he'll reset the list or prioritize things or come up with another list. It's usually about 6 articles of how to keep, well, here it is, how to keep a man in 6 simple steps. Okay. These are standards. These are the things that guys are run up the flagpole, as you will see here in just a minute, for actually saying a woman should do X. A woman should do these things. Okay, well, Alex, if we're going to have, if we're going to expect women to be high quality, if we're going to expect women to be, not ratchet hoes, can we not have standards for them? Well, apparently we can't. And this was why. So, first one, learn how to cook amazing dishes. Doesn't sound too outrageous. Number 2, be feminine, long hair, makeup, nails, and then of course, no tats, right? Number 3, don't nag him over trivial things. Sound like a standard? Be debt-free. Don't be a single mom. Know how to please him in bed. Those are some very simple, basic things. I think he was deliberately trying to do this. This was probably one of his most well-engaged tweets, I think, and this was back in 2019 as well. Funny, I was writing this at the same time, right? Look at that. 3.6 thousand likes, 8,000 comments. And as I'm looking at it right now over here, there are 3,258 quote tweets and 3,600 likes. Not bad. Oh, and sorry. And then 717 retweets since he put this up. So let me pull that out and come back to you guys. So if you go and you look at that, and I will put the link to that one there if you want to go and look at those the responses to that. There's quite a few, as you can see, right? 8,000 comments were generated that, and 90% of those were from women who were just raging that any man would have any standards. That's what I'm talking about. But don't take my word for it. Let's look at some things let's look at some scientific data that says that men aren't allowed to have standards, or men don't really even have standards pretty much. We're not allowed to, because we live in a gynocentric social order that says for women never to do anything for the express pleasure of men. So any guy that says, I need a woman who's hot, I need a girl with long hair, I don't want her to have tats, try this. Here's an experiment for you, Alex. Tweet this out. Women should, 1, be hot, thin, and gorgeous. Long hair, no tats. Number 2, knows how to cook and clean. Knows how to please a man in bed. Like, go and I challenge you to even just rejigger that list a little bit there. See what happens when you are not allowed to have those standards. Women will rage and throw rocks at you because you dared to put to be in any way judgmental, to be in any way demanding of any quality in a woman. Don't take my word for it. Go put it out into the Twitter sphere. Millions and millions and millions of women will come back and they'll go, how dare you? I don't have that queued up. How dare you? That's what I'm talking about here. But again, don't take my word for it. Let's go have a look at Rob Henderson here. This is from, I want to say this is from, Games Primates Play. This is actually, this is from a straight up article. Rob Henderson, I don't know if he's Dr. Rob Henderson yet. Evolutionary psychologist. He was the guy that I was talking about on the previous Jordan Peterson video. Okay, and he's quoting from this study. In low-risk, short-term contexts, men were willing to form a relationship with a physically unattractive mate to avoid missing out on a mating opportunity. Men are more willing to lower their standards to avoid lost mating opportunities. Oh, that not enough for you? Here's the actual study right here. Okay, adaptive human behavior and physiology. This is from back in, actually, this is this year. Okay. I already read you that one quote. Here's the other one. If men are more willing to lower their standards to avoid lost mating opportunities and women maintain higher standards in mating regardless of context, men may be sensitive to contextual differences, but women should find unattractive partners undesirable regardless of context. As predicted, women were less willing than men to date physically unattractive prospective mates. Sounds like men are not allowed to have standards where women have way, way higher standards. Almost sounds like hypergamy is real. Almost sounds like when that crazy dude Rollo starts talking about men's innate mating strategies being unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, hit it and quit it, ejaculate and evacuate. That sounds like something that our ancestors way back in the savannah and our ancestral past was a pretty pragmatic way of reproducing. And for women, they had to have high standards because they bear a much higher investment cost when it comes to pregnancy. That's why. But again, don't take my word for it. Let's also look at what Rolf has to say here. Both men and women rated research findings that described sex differences that were flattering to women as more congenial and judged the research, revealing them to be higher in quality. This is what's known as the women are wonderful. It's actually, a social dynamic? It's a socio-psychological dynamic, okay? Whenever there is something that is flattering about women that is revealed, especially when it comes to like evolutionary psychology, but when there's something that says, hey, we've done brain scans and we've discovered that women have a better facility with communication. Why? Of course, why? They're, as Dr. Pinker has said in the past, women are interested in people and men are interested in things. Men tend to be much more outward. We focus out on the outward world. Women focus on the inward world. If you look at the choices that women make when it comes to their majors in college and the career choices and the quote unquote rewarding careers that they want to have, they're usually involve people skills, HR. Why is that a kind of like a trope, a stereotype right now? Karen and HR, because that's what they choose. They choose those things. They choose the things that are more like interpersonal. They're interested in people. Okay? But when we go and we say, oh, well, we've done these brain scans and or if I say, women are more adept with communication, even pickup artists will say the same thing. Women are very good at reading subcommunications. Yeah, well, look, we have these fMRI scans and we've discovered that this is actually empirically true. Women go, yay, women, yay us, yay, girls. But when we go and we say, look, we found empirical evidence that men are better at throwing an object. We're better at spatial manipulating 3D objects. We're better. We tend to concentrate on things. We tend to be more adept with rationality. We tend to be more adept with mathematics and pretty much all the STEM careers that women naturally avoid, but men find fascinating. If I say that and I'm a college professor, I'm fired. I lose my job. I am not allowed to say those things. Because if it's flattering for women and it's empirically true, then we praise it and we say, yay, team woman. If I find something that is flattering to men that might not be as flattering to women, or in some way, it doesn't have to be flattering, can exclude women, then you're fired from your full tenured job at the university, my friend. That you're not allowed to have standards. You're not allowed to say those things. That's one dynamic. Here's the other one here. Last but not least, Rolf again, unable to find the perfect partner, both sexes compromised implicitly by lowering their preferred ideals rather than explicitly by choosing someone who fell short of their declared ideal. Now, I also have this, which is ancillary to that. Research has also found that most men find most women at least somewhat sexually attractive, whereas most women do not find most men sexually attractive. Okay, this also backs up hypergamy as well, as you might guess. The Buss Evolutionary Psychology Lab, that's David Buss, by the way, discovered that men lower their attraction standards for casual encounters. Look at that. Empirically, they are willing to have sex with partners who meet just minimal thresholds on traits they themselves rank as desirable, such as intelligence and kindness. In contrast, women typically maintain high standards in whom they choose, whether for casual or pair-bonded sexual encounters. Wow. That sounds pretty damning. That sounds like men aren't well, maybe socially they're not allowed to have standards, but that's what I was getting at in that one topic. But you don't care because you don't know this stuff. And here's the data, and here's all that science that you were asking me for in the beginning of all of this. Here it is. What do you got to say, man? Throw it at me. Bring it at me. Because everything you've said up to this point has been nothing but straw men and bullshit. That's why I don't do debates with disingenuous scumbags like yourself. That's why.
What anyone thinks about you, and you're totally allowed to have your standards. But this notion that only women are allowed to have standards nowadays, no, that's not really true at all. Men have standards all the time. I have standards. Most of the guys I know have standards. So yeah, this is just pure nonsense, or at least largely nonsense.
Okay, so I think we've disproven this bullshit. Let's move on.
Another big concept he talks about is hypergamy. He basically says that hypergamy is like a law and that women will trade up. Okay, so...
All right. Back up there, mister. I don't have the backup, so... Have you ever, like this guy... Have you ever heard me say that hypergamy is not a straitjacket? I've done full episodes on exactly that term. And I got run up the flagpole, right? I get criticized quite a bit for saying that, particularly from the black pill community, who are the guys that want to say that hypergamy is a straitjacket. I've never said that. In fact, I've got a full essay about that. It's the misnomers, or the misconceptions about hypergamy. That's at the top of that list right there. So it's not a law so what he's saying here is that I am in some way implying that hypergamy is going to be something that you can't get out of, right? That if she can find a better mate, then she's going to find a better mate, right? Well, I've said this a million times before. I will say it one more time. Yes, hypergamy is a thing, and it's not going to change. But guess you know what does change? Women's circumstances. He just admitted this not too long ago. Women's circumstances change. When they get older, they lose sexual market value. Women's SMV is perishable. Women need security. They need the beta buck side of hypergamy for a lot longer than they can actually capitalize on the alpha seed side of hypergamy. That's what I've said in the past on dozens of occasions. So to say that that's what I'm saying is just straw manning.
In that case, why has your wife of 23 years never traded up? Are you telling me that you're literally the best option in the world?
Yes.
No.
Yes. In fact, that is exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying. You know why? Because I have been with her for 25 years. Thank you very much. That is exactly what I'm saying. Because I had sexual market value when I was 28, actually before that, but I had sexual market value when I was in my late 20s. I have a way higher value than I do now. You know why? Here's why. Because at 30 some odd years old, and actually well beyond that, guess what happened? My value went up because I maximized my potential, just like you are, I would presume, are trying to tell other guys to do. That's why. All you're doing is confirming what you were denying just a little while ago. Oh, does your wife say, are you the best she could do? I don't think so. Fuck you. How do you know? You don't know who she is. You don't know what my relationship is like. Boy, why would you presume that? No, the reason why you would presume that is because Anthony Johnson is feeding you bullshit. But second of all, it's this idea that everything is static. That if a woman is a 10 at 25, she's a 10 at 55. Get the fuck out of here. You just said that a little while ago. So that's the thing. That's the thing about hypergamy. Now I'm going to get straight with you here. The thing about hypergamy, one of the biggest misconceptions is that people just stay the same. Yeah, it probably would be doom and gloom if women stayed as hot, as young, as thin, as perfect, and didn't get wrinkles and didn't, took care of themselves. And they, I don't know, drank the blood of children or something like that and rejuvenated themselves like a vampire until, from the time they were 22 until the time they were 92 and they never aged a day, then you might have a case, my friend. Then I would believe you. But that's not how it happens. And even just a little while ago, when I was talking about the wall, the psychological changes that happen for a woman right around 32 years old or thereabouts. Those psychological changes are there because that woman realizes on some level of consciousness that she can't compete with her 22-year-old self. Even if she's as hot as she was, there's still the idea that, is he the best I can get? Well, I need security, long-term security, either financially, emotionally, familially, however you want to define that. There's a lot of different ways that women need security. They need masculine dominance. They need a guy who's in control. They need protection, provisioning, and parental investment in the long term. And they need that for far longer than they're from 18 to 28. They need that way, way longer. That's why it's not a straitjacket. How many ways do you want me to tell you this? Things change. Again, women's value goes down. Generally speaking, men's value goes up if they maximize their potential. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. Am I the best you can do? You're goddamn right I am. For 25 years, I have been. You have no concept of that because to do so would actually expose you for the fraud that you are. That's why.
Again, small amount of truth. There are some girls who are very hypergamous. So for example, the gold diggers, those chicks, yeah, they're always looking for the better option. That's not the majority of girls.
Bullshit. And it's not, again, you're using extreme examples here, extreme binaries. Oh, well, if that's what, so the only girls on planet Earth who are hypergamous are gold diggers. The only women on planet Earth who have any concern about quality or marry, even if you want to keep it in like classical hypergamous terms, marrying up those women, no, most women aren't that way. They're just like us, man. They're just walking around, tooling around, man. They're not gold diggers. They're nice. They're everything's good, man. They're quality women. Only ratchet gold digging, only manipulative, opportunistic women are hypergamous. How many? This too. I can't believe you are this autistic. I can't believe you are this literalist, because this is what I mean about disingenuousness. This is bullshit, but you got to find some way to fill the space. I don't know. What are they paying you? That's what I want to know.
Like if you have a relationship with a girl who's a normal girl with good self-esteem, right? She comes, has a good upbringing, or at the very least she did work on herself and she's emotionally healthy, and you have a strong connection and her needs are being met, she's not going to be hypergamous. She's not going to try to trade up, right? Even if a better option comes along.
Okay. Hypergamy is not about trading up. It's not about marriage even. Hypergamy is wanting the best. Hypergamy doesn't seek its own level. I don't care if I don't care if she is in a pre-arranged marriage. I don't care if she's in a culture that women are sexually repressed and they've got to wear burqas, or they got to be wearing, I don't know, they're on the Amish Dutch country in Pennsylvania, wherever. It makes no difference. Women are still women. It's part of the machine. It's part of the evolutionary firmware. Are they all exploitative, opportunistic bitches looking to take the man down? No, they're not. And no one has ever suggested they are. But you have to make things into this binary extreme horse shit. Otherwise, you don't have anything to talk about. No one has said that. I've written dozens of essays that completely counter this.
Because she invests a lot of time with you, she's not going to be looking for that better option. The only time that she might be doing that if she feels neglected and her needs are not being met. So
so it can be her spending a lot of time with you. It can also be that time that she's spending with you, her SMV is decaying, right? Let's go look at this one more time. Look at that declination right there. A woman at 28, or excuse me, at 18 is not going to be the same chick at 38 years old. She becomes necessitous. That's why the epiphany phase is there that you completely butchered.
Of truth, but again, heavily, highly overblown. Again, this is just making guys paranoid, because I see some of the Rollo fans are like, oh my God, hypergamy, my girl, she's going to trade up. It's only good if you.
No, they don't. They actually don't do that. You know who they do? They go, your good friend, Sid Ragunath, right? Your good friend, MGTOW Black Pill Dictionary, MGTOW Dictionary. Not my guys, not the people who follow me, because they actually take the time. They're intelligent enough to read what I talk about, and they interpret it, they comprehend it, they digest it, and they go on and they move on, and they use that as a tool to better their lives with and to avoid killing themselves with. Want me to show you the data for that? Want me to show you the proof? I got the receipts for that too, my friend. Yeah. Don't mistake what I talk about for what black pill doomers are talking about. Don't mistake what I talk about for what white pill guys are talking about. Again, it's a praxology. It's not an ideology. It's not a philosophy. Don't associate my work with the conclusions that the black pill doomers come to. That's what you're doing here. And you know why you do that? Because the guy who is paying your bills right now, or the guy who's going to be hosting you in Orlando, those are the guys he hangs out with. That's all he's got left. Just those dudes. They're the only ones that want to hang out with him anymore because everybody knows he's full of shit. That's why.
Use it as a motivation to work hard and improve yourself. But you shouldn't be paranoid that your girl is just going to constantly trade up. Again, if you pick the right kind of girl and you have a good relationship, that's not going to happen.
I agree. Why don't you go tell all the guys that are hanging out on MGTOW Dictionary, and why don't you go tell all the guys in the black pill community the exact same thing and see what happens? Because I've tried, my friend. I have tried and tried.
Another one, men don't have an attraction floor. So he's saying that men, if given enough alcohol, they'll just fuck anything. Yeah, there are some guys that do that. I know guys who do that. I also know guys who won't do that, like me for example.
Oh, well, you being the spokesman for all men, that sounds, you notice that like most girls will say the same thing. As a woman, one more essay I've written. Women will personalize everything and presume that you will accept it as the universal, global, general rule. That this is some big time like damseling. Is it yeeting? Is it deering? I don't know what the hell this is. But that's what I would never do something like that. I just showed you a second ago. Where did it go? Here it is. Unable to find a perfect partner, both sexes compromise implicitly by lowering their preferred standards rather than explicitly by choosing someone short of declared ideal. And hold on. Research shows that most men find most women at least somewhat sexually attractive. The bus, let's see. Oh, here it is. The bus evolutionary psychology lab discovered that men lower their attraction standards for casual encounters. Empirically, they are willing to have sex with partners who meet just minimal thresholds on traits they themselves rank as desirable, such as intelligence and kindness. In contrast, women typically maintain higher standards. There it is, black and white. Go take that up with David Buss. Go take that up with the guys who actually do the research here, right? Oh, and let's not forget this. Here's the wall again. Let me remove you out of there real quick. For women, market value peaks in their late 20s, while for men, it peaks in their late 30s. Ads posted by women and men in these age categories received the most replies. Women and men with high market value were more demanding and choosy. Like that one. That was from, wait, do I have that? I've got the abstracts here. Let's see mating decisions in the absence of physical attractiveness. Anyways, these are drawn from actual research. This is from the Springer link. Who did this? I'm trying to see what university did this one. Anyways, I have the data sets for these. This is the really good one. They did this by dividing the portion of male and female advertisers seeking individuals of a given age, the demand, by the proportion of male and female advertisers of that age, the supply. As expected, they discovered that for women, market value peaks in their late 20s, while for men, it peaks in their late 30s. Where have I heard that one before? Oh, yeah. There we go. All right, one more.
Have definitely an attraction floor. So guys who are desperate and have low self-esteem don't have an attraction floor. You know who else doesn't have an attraction floor? Women with low self-esteem. Women will hook up with ugly, gross guys all the time. Those are the women who have low self-esteem. People who have good self-esteem do have an attraction floor. So again, this is not a man or woman thing. It's a self-esteem thing.
No, we can see statistically that is incorrect. Especially when, it's easy to make, let me pull them out here real quick. It's easy to make unfalsifiable unfalsifiable generalities as the or qualifications like this. Very easy. Well, you're just low quality. You have low self-esteem. It's the same thing. Like, for instance, here's a great one. Hybristophilia. Why is it that only women get hybristophilia, or very like minuscule, not even statistically significant men get hybristophilia? Like, they want it just so that we can say that guys do too, but like overwhelmingly, like 99.998% of the incidences of what we would call hybristophilia are women wanting to get with guys with dark triad traits, who are convicted felons, killers, warlords, ISIS members, whatever it is, the worst of the worst, gang leaders, drug dealers, incarcerated guys. Women will go out of their way to get with those guys. Only women will go out of their way to do that. Sounds like that is an unflattering aspect of female nature. Now, again, I'm not saying it's bad or good. You guys can say it's bad or good. Okay. But it is what it is. I'm interested in what is. You guys can make the judgment call. Fine. But the fact still remains that's part of the nature. That's part of a woman's, at least 2 + 2 = 4. Hey, I want to get with this guy because he has a capacity for violence. Okay. Are all those women damaged? Every woman on planet Earth. Are all women damaged because they're the only ones that really get hybristophilia? Not all women get hybristophilia, but only women do, really, statistically, only women do get hybristophilia. Are they all? Is every woman who ever got hybristophilia, who ever acted on that, all the way, by the way, I think it's in the California state prison system, they have to, and it might be in other prison systems too, but they have to separate female guards. And why there's female guards at the prison, I don't know, but the female prison guards have to be separated from the male population in the prison because it was happening so regularly that they had to keep them separated, right? Why would we initiate such a law if that wasn't part of women's, like the possibility, the predictability is there, and we got to curb that. We got to turn that. We got to nip that in the bud, mister. Why? Because it's an unflattering part of their nature, women's nature. So of the women who get hybristophilia, all women have the potential anyway for hybristophilia. Of the ones who act on it, the prison guards, whatever, of the women who do so, are they all damaged? Are they all whacked in the head? Are they all damaged? Because that is the real data set I'm interested in. Because that also presumes that all guys, any guy who would go slump busting, I don't care how alpha you are, man. I'm going to go slump busting. I got with this one chick I regret. Like, have you ever had sex with a chick, like a drunken sex with a chick? And you're like, oh, you wake up the next morning and you go, oh, she's like a land beast, right? Like that's a joke, man. I mean, that's been a joke since at least the 80s that I know. Like I said, no one's ugly after 2 a.m. Why is that a joke? Why is that a maxim? Why is that it's actually a cliche, right? Why? Because there's some truth to it. There's something to that. So don't give me this bullshit about like, it's like, what's the ugliest chick you've ever got with? Have you ever got with a fat chick? Why did you get with that fat chick? Why did you, or maybe because I prefer them. No, it was easy. She sucked a mean dick. That's why. That's why you got with her. You wanted that. Guys have a much, put it this way. Okay. You know what? I'll even give you half of this. I'll give you half credit on this one. Men don't have the same, like women don't have attraction floors at all. Hypergamy means I want at or above my own sexual market value. We can see that. I can show you the data sets for that. In fact, I think I've got one. Is this the one? Here we go. I can prove it to you right here. Thank you, Rob Henderson. And this is from Games Primates Play. People with partners who were the same or higher in desirability than themselves were more satisfied with their relationships. Can create problems. Your higher value partner is more likely to abandon you. The higher value partner is more likely to cheat. Really? So the guy's more likely to cheat if he's okay. We'll balance this out. Maybe that's not confirmation of hypergamy. Well, maybe it is for both, but the fact of the matter remains is that where to go? Where's this one? Oh, I got to that one already. Here we go. Research has found that most men find most women at least somewhat sexually attractive, whereas most women do not find most men sexually attractive. How do you think that that would affect men's mating strategy? Alex, you being the brilliant evolutionary sexologist that you are, how do you think that might impact guys go, you know what? I don't get laid all that much. But I really want to reproduce, or I really want to get after it with a girl. I really want to have sex. How can I go about doing that? Because women don't really find me all that attractive. So what's my workaround? What's my strategy? What's my mating strategy? Well, maybe I can't bang the hot 8 or 9, but no one's ugly after 2 a.m. Sound like a mating strategy to you? Because that seems the most deductively pragmatic way of doing it. I don't care what your esteem is. If it's sex or no sex, if it's this life of celibacy, or you can get with a girl who you're a 5 and she's a 4, you'll get with the 4. Trust me. You want to know why pornography is so endemic in our society right now? Because it is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, and there's no filters, there's no bars. Porn never gets a headache, man. Porn never has to worry. You never have to worry about consent with porn. That's why it's a big deal. That's why guys keep coming back to it. And it's a multi-bajillion dollar, juggernaut of an industry, and probably technically has been for quite some time, really since the 60s, right? I guess. Guys want to get laid. Guys want to solve their reproductive problem. And if that means that they got to slump bust, or if that means they got to bat lower than their hit low, punch lower than their weight, that's what they're going to do. Ejaculate and evacuate. It is part of our our innate mating strategy. That's why. What else was on here? Oh, this was good. This is great, man. How do you like this? Convicted criminal offenders had more children than individuals never convicted of a criminal offense. Importantly, the reproductive success of criminals was explained by a fertility increase from having children with several different partners. Does that sound like maybe hybristophilia is a mating strategy? Or maybe it's not just about damaged women. Maybe it's that women want to get with guys who are dangerous dudes. Maybe it's alpha fucks and beta bucks. And if I can't have them both in one guy, I'm happy to, because we live in a gynocentric social order, I can facilitate one and the other at the same time. That's why. Next.
Another one. Women have a giant laundry checklist, and men only care if the girl's hot and available.
Right.
He's making the argument that, women, want a million things and men only want 2 things. Small element of truth here. Women are generally a bit more picky, and they also look at more than just the physical on average. There's, of course, a lot of exceptions to this. But you know who else also has a laundry list of things they look for? High value guys. Like I can tell you with myself, it's not just the girl being hot and available. For sex, yes, but for dating, I want a girl who's intelligent. I want a girl who's loyal.
Funny that we don't get to that until we get to the sexual side. It's what I've been saying forever. Sex is the glue that keeps a relationship together. His primary focus on all of this is, well, you got to be in a good relationship. It's relationship. I don't want kids and I don't want to get married, but, I would choose this girl for a relationship. Okay. But to get to that point, to have the relationship with that girl, what's the criteria? You see a girl across the bar and you go, I wonder if she's a brilliant conversationalist, because I'm really looking for I'm due for a good relationship. Bullshit. It is about a sexual, younger, hotter, tighter, man. So you see, okay, sake of argument, that's hypothetical situation. Stop the bus for a minute. You walk into a bar, club, or social situation, school, whatever, wherever your preferred place, sexual zone is to meet a woman, and you see a good looking hot 23-year-old girl, and she looks good, she's happy, and she looks like she's a well-adjusted chick, but she's smoking ass hot. She's a 8.5, 9, and standing next to her is a 45-year-old girl, and our 45-year-old gal probably had at least one kid by 45. good looking, attractive enough, but definitely not as attractive as the 23-year-old that's standing next to her. And you maybe read into the fact that maybe she's married, maybe she's divorced, whatever, maybe she's had kids before. She certainly has definitely has some mileage on her. Which one are you going to be attracted to? Which one are you going to go look at those and go, is your criteria then, I'm going to go with the 45-year-old because I think she has much more life experience and she'd be a better conversationalist and she would be loyal. Yeah, definitely be loyal, right? That's what you're going to go for. Really? That's the hypothetical situation there. But yeah, again, it's like, do you want a girl who can carry on a conversation? No, it's not about dumb girls. It's about the fact that your primary criteria is she hot? Is she available? Again, go read Dataclism. The numbers are there. I don't care how old the guy is, between 15 and 95. Every single guy in that survey judges women between the ages of 22 and 24 years old as being the most attractive. That's what they want. For women, it is it's staggered by 3 to 7 years. So if a woman's like, say, 23 years old, she's going to find a guy who's 27 years old. If she's 30, she's looking for a guy who's, lo and behold, about 34, 36, 37 maybe. It's usually staggered by, like 3 to 7 years, depending on what that woman's age is. Dataclism. Go pick it up, man. It's a fascinating book. There's another great book called A Billion Wicked Thoughts, too. It came out in the early or late 2000s. It's just aggregate data of dating sites, Tinder. Well, not then, but Tinder, OkCupid, Match.com, Hinge, Bumble, Pornhub, lots of different data sets that point to the fact that men look for women who are hotter, younger, hotter, tighter. That's the primary attractant. What comes after that? I don't know. What do you want? Do you want to just have sex with a chick? Well, that's what you're probably looking for. Are you going to say, you know what? Who are you going to start a relationship with? Are you going to start a relationship with a girl who is older and not as attractive, but she's a better conversationalist? Or are you going to start a relationship with a woman who's like, say, 6 years younger, hotter, looks like she looks like she's a little more vibe, has a little bit more life to her than the older girl? Which one? Which one are you going to start? Most guys are going to pick the younger girl. Most men choose fertility and youth and beauty. That's what they're choosing. This is not, you can't be this stupid. You really can't.
Girl who has a good sense of humor. I want a girl who's caring. I want a girl who's nurturing. So I have a whole list of things that I'm looking for. So again, this is not really a man or woman thing.
How many of those would you be willing to trade for a girl who is hot? What if you mean, by this logic, men should be looking for women who are comedians, women who would be good mothers, women who are, have a career. All these women who are going to school, going and starting their careers, and have a good head on their shoulders, and are have a degree from a major university. All those chicks should be finding plenty of guys, don't you think? There's this, because if this is the way most guys, and here you are speaking for mankind, why is it that the women are frustrated and can't find the right guy? Why is it that they can't find a guy who's economically attractive? I need to find my equal who actually makes more money than me, is taller than me, is better looking than me, has more going for him, is funny, cute, loves his mom, likes puppies, and wants kids in the future. Why is that the case? Why isn't that guys are going, you know what? Screw it. She's got all these great qualities. I'm going to start a relationship with her. Why? So what's more important? Is she her sexuality and her physique, or the fact that she's, going to be, she's a comedian?
It's a self-esteem thing, right? Small element of truth, just because women on average are a bit more picky, but heavily overblown. Another one. Not
overblown. Look at any article about how women cannot find suitable guys. Look at any article about how women who are college, look at what was it? Morgan Stanley, the rise of the she economy. If that were the case, then why are they projecting, Morgan Stanley, why are they projecting that by 2030, that the majority of women in working age women, 25 to 44, that 45% of them, 45% of them are going to be single and childless? Why? Because men are just not living up. That's it. Or is it because that they are neglecting first of all, that they're neglecting or I should say that they have higher standards than they can actually get. That's why you're seeing these chicks like, oh, well, I'd rather die alone. Had that chick, Amanda, that Giga Karen on Fresh and Fit. I'm going to just die alone. Yeah, you probably are, because your standards are so bloody high that no one's going to be good enough. You got to date yourself. At least that's that was the joke anyways. Yes, women have way higher standards. That's the laundry list. And I didn't make that up, by the way. That's actually directly from Royce back in the day. 2009 Royce was the 436 bullet point checklist that women have. Women have a laundry list of prerequisites for guys to fit that role. Do they all have to check off every single one? No, but they got to check off enough of the ones that are at the very top of that list for them to ignore the ones that are sort of lower down in the list. So because women are looking for long-term security, and they have to, and if the guy doesn't have those things, he better damn well have the potential for those things. Women have a much higher standard for choosiness, pickiness than men do. It's not that men don't. I'm sure that's, especially when men get a little bit older. I would hope so. I would hope that by the time if you're a guy and you're 34, 35, 36 years old, and you're single and you're red pill, and you understand game, you understand your nature as a man, you understand women's nature, physical evolved nature, you understand the game that you're in a position where you can be way more sexually selective. Even still, we get guys on, calling into Rich Cooper's show or my show who are asking stupid bonehead questions that they already know the answers to, but had they had standards, or they wouldn't get involved with a single mommy. They wouldn't get involved with a woman who's, single and crazy. They wouldn't she's got BPD, but I love her so much, or the sex is so good. Should I marry her? No, you shouldn't marry her. But the presumption is this: that most guys are blue pill. Most guys are starting their dating career from a position of scarcity, not abundance. They're not like cool dudes like you screwing 1,300 girls a year or whatever, right? I mean, that's the other guy, right? They're not in a position of abundance. Most guys are not getting laid. I'm sure the statistics are there. Most guys aren't getting laid. So where do we go from there, Alex? Right? Those 80% guys, should they just stick to their guns and have like way higher standards? Yeah, probably, but they're not going to, because if it's lower my standards and have sex, or keep my standards and not have sex, most guys are going to unfortunately not have sex at this point. But most guys, if they are given the opportunity to have sex with a suboptimal chick, they're going to bang the suboptimal chick. No chick is ugly after 2 a.m. Now, MGTOWs are going to throw rocks at me because I said that, but for the most part, guys who are blue pill conditioned, which is the vast majority of men today, though their standards are not even, I'm not saying you shouldn't have standards. That's what he's getting at. Oh, Rollo said you shouldn't have standards. No, I'm just saying most guys don't have standards. Please have standards, man. I hope you, especially if you get to the point where you're 35 or 36 years old and you're more selective. I hope you damn well better. In fact, I get frustrated when guys say, oh, I got involved with a single mommy and I'm 35 years old and I'm just hitting my stride. How do I get rid of her? You shouldn't have gotten in that position in the first place. We do red flag warning shows all the time. Yeah, you should have standards. Most men don't, because most men are in a position of sexual deficit. They'll take what they can get. That's why they do what's called a strategic pluralism theory. I just bypassed that a minute ago. And what that is that men who lack sexual options will tend to put their energies into one girl. And they'll make her their one, or they'll dream about it. It'll be this big romantic thing. They will invest themselves psychologically, emotionally, financially, effort-wise, personally, whatever, so they can facilitate that one hope for a relationship. That's what I call sniper mentality in the first book. I hope she sees this, bro. Right? Those guys, they don't have the standards that guys who have options do. So maybe that's the misalignment here. Maybe you, speaking for mankind, have more options than the average 80%er guy who doesn't have any, who doesn't have the standards that, well, I have standards because I'm a good looking guy. I have self-esteem. It's not about self-esteem. It's about circumstance. It's about the realities of the world. It's about sexual deficit. It's about scarcity and abundance. If you don't have abundance, your mentality and your mating strategies are going to be far different than if you have options. As I have said a million times, confidence is derived from having options. If you've got a Rolodex full of girls, if you're spinning plates, like I also said in this book, in 6 different chapters, if you're dating non-exclusively and you don't have one-itis, and if one girl doesn't work out, you got 3 other girls that will work out, you're in a much different position than if you've got one girl and you hope against hope that things are going to work out for you. Yeah, you could. You know what's funny is if you're the guy that is spinning plates and is dating non-exclusively, like I was trying to tell Lauren Southern in the beginning of this damn podcast, that men need to have options. You want to talk about abundance versus scarcity? And I've done shows about this too. But the man who has options, the guy who's living in abundance, he can afford to have standards. The average guy, the 80%er guy, and again, Pareto principle, I'm probably being generous. That guy can't afford to have standards because he doesn't know when his next meal is coming. He doesn't know when the next sexual opportunity is coming. So he'll tolerate all kinds of bullshit. In fact, and in the meantime, while he's waiting for his one to show up, he's happy to throw out $2,000 a month on a OnlyFans girl just for the fantasy of not having options, not having standards. Well, I have standards. Okay, well, fine. But can you, your standards are only as good as your ability to capitalize on them is, or to demand them is. Guys will tell me this all the time. They'll be like, oh, I need a virgin bride, Rollo. I want a woman who's untouched and unblessed. And I understand the want for that. I do. I get it. I want a girl who hasn't been run through. Okay. I understand the want for that. The reality is you're probably not going to find that. And you know what? They know that too. And they know that they're going to have to compromise something of their conviction. But let's just say, for sake of argument, you won't compromise your conviction. There are very few guys that will. Guys will talk a good game, but their options are such that they make their necessity a virtue. If your necessity is, well, I'm not getting laid, I don't have a lot of opportunities, but that's okay because I don't want. It's like sour grapes, right? I only want the best of the best. Well, you know who's saying that right now? Women who are like in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who have remained single, waiting for Mr. Right to roll along and come in and sweep them off their feet. That never arrives. It's a big fantasy in church culture, I should say. I want the husband that God has ordained for me. And how old are you? 54. Get thee to a nunnery. That's the best. There's your advice right there. But most guys, they don't have that option. They live in a position of scarcity. Should they get out of that? Yeah. Should they develop themselves? Should they build their potentials? Absolutely. But speaking as a guy who I guess ostensibly has more opportunities, you don't speak for the vast majority of guys. Vast majority of guys can't afford to have too many standards because if they don't, they won't breed.
Why you suck with women. He says men suck with women because they're told to be more feminine, identify with their emotions. Mm-hmm. Not really. Only a small percentage of the time is that the issue. I've coached hundreds of clients. I can tell you this almost never happens. The reason that most guys suck with women is, one, because they have the wrong information, so they've been following bad advice. Part of that is Rollo's advice and all the red pill nonsense.
Right. So it's me that is steering these guys the wrong way, and not the advice that they have been taking for all of their lives before they had. Remember, to find the red pill, we don't advertise. We don't put it on billboards. Now, this book, it's very hard to advertise a book, by the way. It's just not, it's not economic. If you wonder, well, how come I don't see Rollo's ad? I only see Rollo ads for the Rational Male on Twitter. Yeah, because I can do it for free. That's why. You have to seek it out. Most of these guys, the reason why they suck with women is because they've spent the vast majority of their lives in a feminine primary social order that has taught them things, the exact same things that you're saying. They have bad information, not from me, from the world, from the blue pill. That's where they're getting it from a media that tells them that they need to be one way, that they need to be nice. They need to be good, pliable, useful, serviceable guys. They need to be blue pill. They need to identify more with the feminine. They need to get in touch with their emotions. They need to get in touch with their feminine side. They've been saying that since 1968. That there it is right there. I pointed this out over and then what was it? The show in 1970 with Dick Cavett and Hugh Hefner and the feminist stuff. I show you the language. I showed that to you. It's still being recycled today because generations of guys have gotten bad information. And now, finally, in the internet age, we have access, at least, to information that contradicts that. And whenever you come and pull this shit right here and say, oh, no, it's because of you guys. No, all you're doing is being a crab to pull the other crabs back into the barrel. That's all you're doing. You're not helping guys. Oh, I get them all. You know, it's funny is like for the guys who go and like say, like, oh, I've counseled these guys. Okay, how are you counseling them? What are you telling them? How are you changing their minds? What is it that they've learned over the course of a lifetime that apparently I'm not teaching, or I'm teaching them the wrong thing? What are you teaching them that is actually, what do they believe when they come to you? What are they, what do most men, the 80%ers, right? The blue pill beta 80% guys, what do they have to unlearn? Do they have to unlearn this feminine primary mindset? Do they have to go, you know, like I remember back in the day when it was RSD and mystery method and the Venusian arts, that's what it was. One of the things I had to do was teach guys to look other men in the eye, right? To make eye contact with a girl. 3-second rule. You know, if you don't go and approach a girl in 3 seconds, then don't, because it was a practice, or was a, I guess it was a practice that would try to get guys to overcome approach anxiety. Go out and try to get rejected as many times as you can. That was a competition, right? Because you were trying to get over an approach anxiety. Why do you have that approach anxiety? Because you've been taught a laundry list of things in the old order, in the old 20th century, in the old set of books, that this is how women are, and they're not that way. And more with the internet and with social media and with blogs and with videos and with forums and with everything that's available in the manosphere, we go and we say, this is just not right. Even, like I said, you take me away, take you away, take everybody away. Men are still, it's unignorable. The manosphere is here. Even if I'm not here or you're not here or anybody else, we erase us all, cancel us all. Men will still be in the manosphere because they see there's something on the periphery, right? That's not right. Let's go look that up. We have access to the data. Oh, there's this thing called hypergamy, right? That kind of stuff. So what are you teaching them to unlearn that I'm not? What do they come to you with? And how do you deal with that? Is it anything different than I've been dealing with for the last 20 years? When I was writing these, I don't know how old this guy is. Maybe he's early 30s. When I was writing this stuff back in 2004, once again, what was he, 10 years old? I've been doing this a long time, man. And you know what? You know what doesn't change? The problems that these guys come to me with, that they've had for most of their lifetime, the beliefs that they had, the ideas that this is how you go their game, right? How to go from single and sexless to getting with a girl and becoming intimate. Get laid if that's the case, or get laid and then start a relationship, and get laid, start a relationship, and then get married, start a family. All the things that led up to that, to them changing their minds about themselves and going from single and sexless, there was a reason why they were. What are they? You're speaking for mankind. Clearly, you know better than the rest of us. So I don't understand why that's not forthcoming, right?
2, because they simply don't understand how attraction works. So they maybe think, okay, once I get this promotion at work, the girls will come to me. No, they won't. Like, you still need game. You still need to put yourself out there. And 3, simply because they just have bad social intuition. They have a lot of anxiety. You know, they're nervous. They don't put themselves out there. They don't really have balls, right? They need to get experience consistently overcoming their anxieties and putting themselves out there and hitting on women. So the problem isn't that there's this mainstream conspiracy to make men more feminine, right? Not really. That's not really the issue.
That's not the only thing. That's not all I've said. Everything you said, everything this guy's saying right now, I've already said, guys are socially awkward. I put the stats up last week for the increase in autism amongst men. And boy, just 2 days? Well, it was on the weekend. I put that up. I've talked about this before. I said, in fact, I've talked about this with Rule Zero. I said, what we're doing is we're not teaching games so much as we're teaching social skills right now. You guys go and throw rock. You guys go and shit all over John from Modern Life Dating for doing body language mastery. He's trying to offset exactly what you just said. It made a program to do that. And I had to be convinced too. It took me two versions of body language mastery for me to really sort of understand why, or appreciate anyways, why it was necessary. Because when I saw it, I go, who doesn't know this? Those guys don't know this. They don't have those social skills anymore. What has it been replaced with? It's been replaced with this idea, this trophy, participation trophy generation. Oh, well, we should all just be winners. Where does that come from? A feminine primary social order. Keep rewinding. You don't dig deep enough. You don't look deep enough. Why is it that they're socially awkward? What is it that led them to that? Is it just some natural occurrence, or is it because they have been acculturated and socialized in a gynocentric social order for generations? Or is it because their dads were and now they are worse off as a result? Or is it because their grandfathers were and their dads were and now they are even triple worse off? Those are your clientele, asshole. Those are the guys that you're saying, oh, yeah, man, I help these guys. How did they get that way? Do you even ask these questions? Because I sure as hell do. I got guys all the time saying, Rollo, help me, man. Help me. I had a fucked up childhood. My mom was an overbearing bitch. My dad was an alcoholic. Every day I do personal counseling with these guys. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And the reason they come to this, and the reason they come to these misperceptions, is not biological disorder, not mutants or anything like that. It's because they've been acculturated and socialized in a society that has told them one thing. It's the blue pill. That's the definition of the blue pill. Their conditioning conditions them to believe one thing, and they find out that through the manosphere, my book, hell, even you, maybe. They think those things are not exactly as they used to be. It's called, I have actually 2 posts, but the main one was called The Second Set of Books. And that's in, I believe I put that in the second book. I believe that's in Preventive Medicine. It might've been in the third, but I'm pretty sure it's in Preventive Medicine. And I use this case. There was this guy, and his name was Thomas Ball, I believe it was. And the guy set himself on fire. He literally self-immolation. And he did so because he was trying to get custody of his kids, or he's going through a divorce or something like that. And he realized he'd just come to the conclusion that it was pointless, because everything he had been told up to that point, it's actually his quote, there's one rule set and then there's a second set of rules, the second set of books, right? First set of books is what they teach you and what's your blue pill conditioning. It's like, here's how things should work out. You be a nice guy, you be serviceable, you be a good long-term prospect, you do this, you do that and everything. And then you believe everyone in the world is playing by that first set of rules. That's first set of books, right? Until something screws up, until something goes wrong, until you get to the point where you get to a crisis or you get to a trauma, as he did, and you realize that no one else is playing by those rules. Certainly not women. You want to know why accountability is such a big deal in the black manosphere right now, but really the manosphere in general, is because guys are turning into Thomas Ball. And maybe they're not setting themselves on fire, but they realize that they have been told that there's a set of rules, a set of books, a set of understandings, beliefs that they believe that are mutually applicable to the entire world. And then they get to a point of crisis. They get to a point where they become red-pilled and they go, holy shit, nobody's playing by these rules. Well, what are the second set of rules? Then they learn that. And now they suddenly find that they have better results in life, with women, whatever else it is, because now they realize that people were trying to, again, blue pill versus red pill. That's why. So it's not about like, oh, well, you're just teaching. Why are they the way they are when they come to you fucked up? Did you ever ask that? Do you ever ask that of yourself? Probably not.
It's just a lot of guys don't have positive male role models.
Yeah.
Their dad didn't show them how to do. Like my dad did not sit me down and say, hey, this is how you pick up girls. I didn't have a brother. I was an only child, right? So that's the reason why I sucked with women growing up. So again, just completely wrong about this. So
how am I completely wrong when my entire work is based on exactly that? Is based on exactly the idea that the blue pill has conditioned generations of men to create the guys that are your clientele right now. How am I wrong? How? It's not just about, see, that's the thing. It's like this entire thing is just straw manning and it's bullshit. And again, another reason why I don't do debates with disingenuous fuckwits. That's why.
In conclusion, the big issue I have with Rollo's content and a lot of the red pill stuff is that I find it negatively impacts a lot of guys. Does it help some guys? Yeah, sometimes. But often I also find that it makes guys angry, bitter, and paranoid and resentful towards women.
Wow, there it is again. The age-old RSD argument. Truthful anger. These guys get negative. No, black pill doomers get negative. Don't wipe that shit off on me, man. I do. In fact, I lock horns with those guys so more often than you have, for a lot longer than you have. So it's not this. Oh, it's negative. It's remember that. I don't know if you guys remember this. It's truthful anger. There was a time, and these guys are just. It's the same shit that RSD threw at me back in 2014, 2015, and there came a point where here's a little story for you. There came a point around 2014, 2015 when guys were taking this book to RSD seminars in, I don't know, Miami, Vegas for sure. And I remember people sending me links to YouTube videos of like Papa or what was the other guy? I forget the other dudes. Anyways, the guys who were like the quote unquote instructors for RSD. And they would bring my book and they would go, yeah, I hear what you're saying. But have you read The Rational Male? Because in here, Rollo says this, right? And they read it off. And I said, here's why this makes sense. And after a while, enough guys did that they had to actually read my book and they had to acknowledge that what I was talking about was actually changing guys' lives, helping guys, keep the noose off their neck and the gun out of their mouths. And they had to realize that the stuff that I was writing about in here, yeah, it's hard to accept. Yeah, you probably will get angry. I hope you do. But most guys don't get angry at women. They don't get nihilistic. They cross the abyss. More guys than not find my work and they benefit from it. I've got a post called the safety net, the red pill and the safety net. And if you go and you look, I'll put that I will definitely put that link in the description here. You can read the post. It's good, but the comment threads of that there's over 1,000 comments, and most of them are guys who will say, "Oh, it's all it is just thank you, accolades and everything for the book." And again, that's not to gloss myself. What I wanted to point out is that amongst most of these were it's tough for me to say this. Most of these were guys who had planned to kill themselves or planned to off themselves, whatever, and were trying to make it as convenient as possible for their families and their kids. And they got to the point where they were going to self-immolate, right? Like Thomas Ball. And they said, you know what? I can't take this anymore. Somebody gave them my book. Robert Kiyosaki is a really good example of this as well, because like was at a point of crisis. And we'll talk about that later on, in future weeks. But guys will get to a point where they become suicidal or they become despondent, let's just say. And they've read my book and they've canceled those plans. I can show you the comments. I've met them personally. I've shook hands with these guys at various conventions. Guys will fly out to meet me and to say, hey, thank you for saving my life. So I'm gonna do something that I don't usually do, because I think this guy is disingenuous, but I'm going to, if I can find it here. Do I have it in here somewhere? I think I do. Here we go. I saved this for just such an occasion. This is my main note, but this is a note. And I posted this up on Instagram when I got this. And this is a note. I'm not going to, you probably can't tell what her name is anyways, but this is a note I received. This, I don't know if you can see that. This is a note a handwritten note. And I was with Paul Benjamin at the time, and I think Sterling Cooper was with me too. And I was at the Rebel Capitalist, George Gammon's Rebel Capitalist Conference, and I had met a guy there who I had met prior at in Las Vegas, actually in 2015, when I did the Man in Demand conference with Christian McQueen back in the day. That was the first conference I ever did. There's no video of it. There's audio of it, but there's no video of it. And I met a guy there, and I met actually a lot of guys there, and that was actually what inspired me to write book 3. I already had book 2 ready to go, but I had so many guys asking me about, like, you know, hey, I'm a parent. How do I teach my kids this? When should I give my son the rational male? And I was like, it's hard. That's why I wrote book 3, but Positive Masculinity, because there's a good third of that, maybe 2/3 of that is dedicated to red pill parenting. So this is the note that I was given by his wife at the Rebel Capitalist convention in Orlando back in June this year. So it was 6 years later that I'd never met his wife before, but he was there, for George Gammon's thing, but he just happened to be there. I'm not going to name names, but I will read what I was given here. And she was like, and I got Sterling and everybody to back me up on this. She was like, very emotional when she gave me this, because she couldn't actually just say it. She wanted to give me the written note. So I'm going to read the note here. It says, Rollo, I'm a mom of 3 grown boys. Most of my best friends have boys. Delivered your book to my best friend's son, who was struggling with a breakup and depression. Saved his life in more ways than one. Since then, I have recommended your book to all of our sons to arm them with the knowledge and tools to succeed in reality. Sincerely, thanks. And then she signs it there. That's this. That's what this inspires. And I almost hate to actually have to read that, but that's what these sons of bitches are trying to, like, prevent. I said this at the when I was doing my State of the Manosphere address in 2018 at the 21 convention. I mentioned that. I said the thing that bothers me the most about the potential of having, like, those, having the Manosphere shut down, or having, in this case, having guys like this try to shut it down, try to close it, try to find some way to review bomb my books, find some way to limit me, try to find some way and I think that I've probably more than risen above all of that. But the thing that pisses me off, and if I seem a little pissed on this show today, this is why. Because the thing that pisses me off is that these guys need this. These guys are literally putting guns in their mouths. These guys are literally putting nooses around their necks. These guys are literally planning suicide because because they still are going by the old set of books. She was one of like 3 women and I was surprised too, who came up to me and told me that they were giving this book to their son, because that's how impactful it was. And the thing that got me back in 2018 when I was saying this is that men might not have access to that. These guys don't want you to have access to that. The very sons of bitches who want to tell you that they're on your side and they want to help you and everything else, they're the ones who want to limit you from being able to save and change your life. That's why. The thing that keeps me awake at night is not, I make good money off of doing just like my regular work, man. I'm glad I can do this. I'm glad I can do the things that I do. I'm glad I can do this show. I'm glad I can do, now I'm at 4 books. I'm the research and development department of the Manosphere. There's not one guy in the Manosphere who hasn't in some way used one of my terms or come up with one, or has in some way put their own spin. Again, it's open source, put their own spin on something that I've talked about over the last 20 years. Don't appreciate that. But what they don't appreciate even more is the fact that this stuff saves lives and has been for a very long time. And they know this. They know this. And still they have these petty bullshit. They have this petty nonsense because it's all about brand. It's all about ego. They're pathological personalities and they have attracted other pathological personalities. That's what they do. They're nuts and they attract other nuts. And so when guys come out here and they try to make you into a straw man this or whatever else, and we're the white pill, we're going to move things on. Get the fuck out of here. until you've got stuff like that, until you've got that shit right there in your face, until you can show me that you're taking guns out of people's mouths, you can go fuck yourself. That's why I'm pissed off. That's why this is like, I'm done with this shit. Oh, he doesn't want to debate me. That's not a debate. It's just disingenuous straw manning is what that is. And all of it is. Oh, he said this in his book. Fuck you. Read the book. I'll go and read it to you. That's the point of diminishing returns. I remember when I talk about like why it's not a good idea to debate women, especially like on Fresh and Fit. And I've said this before, is like you get to a point where it's like beating up on children. It gets to the point where you're making your case and they're just not getting it. They're just repeating the same emotional pleas or the same disingenuous bullshit because they don't have a counter, or they've got to make up and fabricate something that you didn't say or make you out to be something that you aren't. And you know what the net result of that is? Is that guys are hurting. Guys die because of you, because of this shit. That's why. How many guys has, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't read the Rational Male. How many of those guys died because of you straw man shit like this? How many? That's what I asked. That's the question that I asked, but not of them, but of the fact that maybe that the manosphere wouldn't be what it was in 2018. That's what keeps me awake at night. Well, I might get canceled. It's not that personally I'll get canceled. Okay, I get canceled. I can snap back from that. But in the meantime, guys are desperate. Guys can't cross the abyss. Guys get despondent. Are you gonna be there? What are you gonna tell them? Probably the same shit. Probably the same shit that you're telling them right now. Most likely. So when you get to that point of diminishing returns, like with women, you just you can back up off of it, right? You can go, oh, who hurt you? Okay, I'm done. Forget it. I'm over. Done. You can pick up, walk away, and go back to your hotel room and have a Pepsi, right? But not with this. Not when you get to the point of diminishing returns with guys who want to make you into something that you are not. Guys who want to stab you in the back for no other reason than they see you as a threat to their fucking brand of me. That's why. And you know what? In all of that petty bullshit, guys are still hurting. Guys are still planning to kill themselves because they're still operating by the first set of books. And they come and they encounter you. Maybe if they're lucky, you'll say something or you'll come up with something. You'll be clueless as to what to say. And you'll say, oh, you'll mention alpha widows, or you'll mention hypergamy, or mention something that's in my book, and you'll pretend it's yours. At least in that case, maybe the guy will not, be hurting. Maybe the guy won't, put a noose around his neck. But you are a hindrance. You're an obstacle. Beware of human beings. Beware of obstacles impersonating human beings. And that's what you are right now, is an obstacle to other people's personal development, an obstacle to their success, an obstacle to their true understanding, an obstacle to them rebuilding their lives according to them, not according to you. I said this before. And I will end with this. I'm not in the business of making men better men. I'm in the business of men making themselves better men, giving them the tools, giving them the information, giving them the data, as I have given throughout this entire podcast. So, having said that, I would much rather have a guy tell me, hey, I'm in a better position. I don't want them to say, hey, I'm a Tomassi man. I follow the Tomassi rules. I don't want that. I'm not a fucking cult leader. I'm not Jordan Peterson. I'm not saying he's a cult leader. I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a guy. I'm not a guru. I'm not sitting on some Tibetan mountaintop going, follow these as tenets of life and you will be better. That's not me. I want you to build your own shit. I want you to be a better person because you put in the time and you use those tools. I'll give you the tools. I'll give you the 9 rules of Tomassi, not of fuckwit, not of, you or him or whatever. That's not the 9 Iron Rules of this guy. That's another thing. It's like the 48 laws of power. How many of those are you going to actually use? How many of those seem unethical? How many could you personally sort of adopt and put into practice? How many of those are just things that you want to learn and want to know? And now you're armed because you understand the dynamics. You understand the principles of those things. That's really all the 9 Iron Rules are. You could take them or leave them. It's not a program. It's not a prescription. But that's the only thing you guys have to go on. Next show, I'm going to jump on the white pill guys who basically have the same argument. right? Oh, we're gonna go rule by rule, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna make up all kinds of bullshit because I never took the time to actually read, or maybe I just was told that this is bullshit and somebody gave me this information. I wonder who that could be. And now I'm going to make a video on this. Like, at least come correct. It's too easy to fuck with you. It's too easy to disprove you. I need better enemies. I need enemies who will take the time, who aren't lethargic, right? Who will take the time to actually read my shit and understand my shit and understand what I've been talking about for 20 years. While you were in middle school, I was writing this. If you think you got me, then come and get me. I'm happy about it, but you got to come correct. That's why I don't do debates with guys like you. That's why I don't do debates with the white pill guys. Well, we need to move the red pill forward. You know how many times I've heard that before? This guy was talking about, this is the first time I've asked him to debate me. Yeah, you're not the first asshat that has asked me to do a disingenuous debate. Pat Stedman came along before you. That was 2017. I turned him down for the same reason. I shouldn't even be doing this. I should be doing it with Pat. He was first in line. But it's the same bullshit, specious, arguments and straw manning that you're doing right here. So that said, hopefully guys have learned something about this, but sometimes you got to put these guys where they got to be. You got to expose them for the frauds and the bullshit that they are. And that was real. I hate to do that because I want to give you guys information. I want everything to be informational. I promise you on Sunday, we will get back to square one. We'll get back to the basics. If you guys want me to do a full episode on the 9 Iron Rules, I'll be happy to do that too. What I mean by those, how I came to that conclusion. If you think I'm wrong, that's fine. You can tell me I'm wrong. Maybe they need to be updated for 2021. I think the principles are still sound. I think the reasons why I came to those conclusions are still sound. Maybe the application needs to be updated for context, for the times, but I think the underlying foundations are absolutely still valid. But this is just this bullshit, disingenuous, specious straw manning is all it is. And you got to ask yourself this, and I'll leave. Here's your question. Here's your study question, children. Why? Why now? Why is this? Why? It's been what, 2.5 years since I parted ways with a certain individual and the Red Man Group and everything else. And you need to look at where I am now, and you need to look where they are now. You need to look at who are they associating with and who am I associating with? And how has my work changed? How has it not changed? Has it still the same? Am I still based on the same? Have I pivoted to something else? No, I have not. In fact, how many books have they written in 2.5 years? I've written one, 400 pages, sources cited, right? Of course, Kevin Samuels right now has decided that he wants to be a religious expert. Now suddenly he's a Southern Baptist minister, wants to talk about how to get black men back into the church. Sounds kind of suspicious to me, considering that the Rational Male religion, book 4, has now just gone on Audible. Seemed like a pretty good topic. He's probably on vidIQ. It was probably given to him as like a suggestion or like one of his daily ideas. And it worked out for him because they love to talk about that stuff. But that's 3 years of my life doing the research for that, putting that whole thing, talking to hundreds of guys about religion and the red pill and intersexual dynamics and how it interacts and dovetails in with, belief and everything else. Go get the book. It's now available. You don't even have to read it. You don't have to put it in front of your face. You can just listen to it. It's now available on Audible. Go pick it up. Please do me the favor. Do me a solid. All right, guys, I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Thanks.